Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is June the 2nd. Can you all believe it? It's almost half year gone in the middle of a pandemic for a second year running. This is year 2021. Welcome. Today we are joined with some of our panel members. Not everybody is here. I'll introduce them really quickly. We're joined by April, who is a psychic. Good evening, April. And then we have Caesar, who is a medium and a spiritual teacher. Good evening, Caesar. We also have Kelly, who is our one and only Qigong teacher. Good evening, Kelly. And of course, our incredible Eileen, who's going to keep us streamlined. Eileen, are you still posting, or I wanted to start off with the question that you had posted. So I'll give a short background while Eileen is completing what she is doing.
Yeah, it won't load for me yet, but I'll get there.
So there was a Greg Braden excerpt from one of his books that Eileen had posted. And I wanted her to read that post because it was more along the lines of how we talk about, we are projecting our reality. We are co-creating our reality from within, and that reality can be anything, including illness. So Eileen, are you ready with the excerpt?
Yeah, I can actually read the excerpt, but my Facebook Live won't pop up yet. So I haven't started tagging anyone, but I will when I'm done.
No worries. Thank you.
As long as it comes up. So this is actually an excerpt from Greg Braden's book, The Spontaneous Healing of Belief. I believe it's from chapter 4, but it's called The Hurt That Kills. A growing body of evidence from leading edge researchers suggests that hurt can cause the failure of our hearts, specifically the unresolved negative feelings that underlie chronic hurt. Our beliefs have the power to create the physical conditions that we recognize as cardiovascular disease: tension, inflammation, high blood pressure, clogged arteries. This mind-body relationship was documented recently in a landmark study from Duke University he goes into. They identified long-term experiences of fear, frustration, anxiety, and disappointment as examples of the kind of heightened negative emotions that are destructive to the heart and put us at risk. Each part being a broader umbrella that we commonly identify as hurt. And then they go in and talk about an additional study that was done in England, having the potential impact for failure to heal and forgive old hurts and disappointments. I'm trying to get to the part that was really mind-blowing for me. So the physical conditions of anger, tension can lead to problems that include high blood pressure, headaches, lowering immunity, stomach problems, and heart attacks. They showed that teaching people to tone down their emotional responses to life situations could prevent heart attacks. It's precisely the point of healing our hurt, specifically what we believe to be true about things that have hurt us. What I took away from it, it's actually still has a couple more paragraphs, but the main thing that I took away from it is that, like, the hurts, like these things that happen, these experiences that happen, the anger that comes, the emotion that happens, the feelings that happen, it's not so much the events that are happening, the situations that are happening, but that those like hurts are stored in our bodies, and then we don't heal from them. So it's not so much what's happening to us, but then holding on to those emotions and those feelings and not healing from them, it's killing us. And so in the book, he talked about how, how heart disease is like one of the number one killers out there. But but that it's really almost like you're dying from a broken heart, like your heart is broken due to not healing from those hurts that happen. And I personally have experience of healing that type of stuff myself. So I was telling my friend that I feel like I've probably added a lot of years to my life just from that. Not so much the health part of it, but the healing, the emotional stuff. I don't know if that makes sense.
Awesome, beautiful. So I just wanted to let everyone know we had some technical difficulty. I did not see the live button go live, so I started it in the middle of while you were speaking. So we missed the introductions, which is fine. We will continue the live. So I want the panel members and everybody out there to speak to what Eileen was talking about, that the hurt is what causes, like the hurt is almost stored in your heart, like the muscles remember the hurt, right?
Mm-hmm. It's unresolved.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Eileen.
Sure, and I'll go look for that.
Great, thank you. April, did you want to get started?
Yes. Hi. Yeah, Greg Braden is awesome. I've listened to quite a bit of Greg Braden. He's awesome. Him and the guy's name, Bruce Lipton. Yeah. And I agree that this is a real thing. I can think of numerous clients that I have worked with that when I work with them and we reduce anxiety, that blood pressure goes down, all these types of things. And I actually had this conversation today with a client about, it was the anniversary of somebody had died, somebody close to them had died. So it was the anniversary of that death. And I gave them the example of 2 years after my mom died, I got really sad this particular day. I was just really sad, like the whole day. And I got a hold of my girls and I'm like, hey, any of you guys sad? And they're like, no. And what I did was I actually stopped and I looked it up. And although it was not the same numerical day, it was the same day that my mom died, because the dates change in the year, right? So, and I explained to that today that, your conscious mind is aware of 4% of what's going on. It says I'm sitting here in a chair right now talking on Facebook, but my unconscious mind holds 96% of what is going on. It drives the bus, it holds your garbage. So 96% of my brain was aware that the weather was the same, the temperature was the same, the lighting was the same. So all of that was within my cells. That was all coded and held within the cells of my body. So while I was not consciously aware, my body knew. And that's my example of, yes, the body does hold everything. It holds all of these memories, all these experiences, all these pains. And when you don't work through these things, you're not aware, you're not conscious, then they can do damage. They can do irreversible damage. And that can continue through not just this lifetime, but future lifetimes as well. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you, April. Kelly, did you want to say something about this topic? Thank you, April.
Sure. This is basically why I teach Qigong, plain and simple. Greg Braden stuff is absolutely wonderful. Great information in terms of understanding the impact of thought form, thought construction, and deconstruction, and how understanding the mind and how we use our mind and our awareness is really, really important, because it's a key to understanding how our awareness allows and chooses or denies the use of emotional energy to impact us physically. All heart issues, blood issues are all about emotional energy that's stored up and blocked and bottled up. And the body is very symbolic of the emotional energy that we work with and or are aware of at varying degrees. And Gregg Braden does a really great job of describing in an intellectual way the more spiritual dimension of human reality. The more spiritual dimension of human reality being that we are all energy. And that if we are not aware of how we are energy, why we are energy, how energy affects us, how the energy of our thoughts and our feelings affects our reality, then we become, for lack of a better word, we become victims of our own unconsciousness. And understanding how to become conscious, how to be present, how to be emotionally responsible is essential, absolutely essential to be even just a basic balanced, human being. The heart has its own electromagnetic field. And this has been researched, and this is why we have the HeartMath Institute. And their research has proven that when we change the way we think about something, the electromagnetic field in our heart changes as well. Direct correlation to thought being energy. And this is something that is really, really important to understand, because the only way to understand how thought really is energy is to listen to the body. You can understand, you can feel the concepts, you can feel them percolating and vying and fighting for position and dominance and attention. Our little ego goes, here's the carrot in front of the donkey, in front of the cart, leading us on. And we are often just, drawn along in the cart, oblivious to the fact that it's us holding the carrot, getting the donkey to move, getting the cart to move. So learning how to stop the cart, stop the donkey, stop the movement of the mind, stopping the movement of the programming, stopping the movement of the blind forward momentum is really, really important. This is why being present is so important. This is why understanding emotional responsibility. And as was it Gregg Braden that said it, or it wasn't exactly a comment on stillness, but it was in what you read, Eileen, about stepping back from the use of the mind in a certain way. I'm forgetting what I read his stuff years ago, and I still got some of his books on my shelves. Really, really good material. And the punchline is people got to understand how their energy. People got to understand how their thoughts are energy, how their thoughts actually affect their physical body. And if people do that, they will achieve a much deeper conscious, real, authentic level of conscious awareness of how their thoughts actually affect them, how the feelings, how the emotional energy, how you actually are energy. One of my own personal experiences is a conversation I had with myself when I was 19, when I cured myself of diabetes, where I spent 3 days with really high sugar foods and medium high sugar foods, and then very neutral alkaline foods. And you basically can of Coke and a Mars bar was the first thing that I chose, right? And I realized that when I ate certain things, my body and my mind would be, I would be emotionally triggered when I ate certain things. And it would have a direct effect on my body and direct effect on my physical level of stress. And I started paying attention to the patterns. And I had a moment in time where I was at home by myself for like a week, So I went and got groceries and I laid out this plan to test my theory. And the first day I had basically I just ate junk food the first day and listened to how my body reacted, how my mind reacted, and how emotional I also got too. Like just, off the reservation emotional. And it was just like, wow, okay. It's just like, holy smokes. The second day I ate natural foods, but foods that were high in sugar, like a lot of fruit, and a lot of citric acids, a lot of oranges, strawberries. What else was there? There were a couple other things. Pineapple, yeah, pineapple was always a big one. And I sort of watched my body have almost an identical reaction to the level of sugar. Not quite the same because the fruit had fiber in it. So I didn't spike and then crash my blood sugar. My blood sugar just sort of like went up and up and up and up and just sort of plateaued and hummed along for a while before sort of easing back down. But I watched my body and my mind have almost in the same kind of extreme emotional reaction. Very, very different triggers, very different feelings in the body. And in between each day, I would literally drink out like 4 or 5 like liters of water to flush my system and get everything out of my body. And then the third day, I had almonds, and I basically had like meat and potatoes, and I ate very, very plain, but with very structured elements of protein, fats, and carbs, and no real like high sudden processed sugar. And I noticed that my mind and my body were both calm at the same time. So I was able to make the connection physically to the effect that my mind had, and just like the conversations when it was triggered by all the sugar and all the tension that arose from being triggered emotionally, was a huge learning experience, and just sort of, caused me to pause and go, wow, this is like a real thing. And this is what I noticed. And this is, ever since then, this is one of the reasons why, apart from, having mold infections and, going out and partying and drinking and stuff like that when I was in my 20s, because that's, hey, you're young and you want to have fun. The learning experience of talking to myself in those 3 days after, I'll talk to myself. I would listen to the emotional content that was being triggered in my body, and I would hold my mind against all the negative dialogue. And by the third day, all the negative dialogue felt like I was watching it through a window, like rain falling on a window. And I was able to watch it, but not feel its impact on my body. So Gregg Braden stuff is absolutely wonderful. That's a fantastic share, Eileen. Fantastic, absolutely awesome find. It is so relevant to understand Gregg's information, because it really does, he really does do a great job of breaking down the concepts of how the mind affects the body.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly. But, one thing I would say is to have that level of awareness, that level of observation of self, also requires presence power. Because unconsciously, we can eat the Mars and we can drink the Coke and not even experience what is because of your Qigong practice, you already had some awareness.
Yes.
And that's why you were able to observe.
Yes.
What I wanted to let everyone know is that's why work on your presence practice first, and then start what Kelly has given example of.
Don't dive into the sugar and the caffeine and the everything. You're absolutely right, Poonam. I had a good 5-6 years of physical discipline and meditation practice before I did that, and because of my practice, I was very, very aware of my mind and very aware of my body and the connection. So you're absolutely right.
Thank you. And the other thing that, Eckhart talks about the pain body. that hurt that Greg Braden is talking about is chapter 5. If somebody can read chapter 5 of A New Earth over and over and over again, right? And he mentions pain body even in The Power of Now. That is what he's exactly talking about, is the hurt that is stored within the body, is the hurt that is stored in your muscles of your heart, right? And you're not doing any kind of cleansing process to cleanse it. Like Kelly has a Qigong practice, that is a cleansing process, right? That's an energy form. April does Reiki. So there are certain energy modalities that raise your vibrational energy that kind of cleanse you, right, of your past hurt. But if you've not done any cleansing, then it's going to stay stored within the body. Eileen had also shared about people that go through trauma, which different races at different times have gone through terrible trauma, right? And what happens is, instead of, if we were in the wild, if this was like 5,000-6,000 years ago in the wild, there would be a lion attacking us and we would have trauma, and it would release adrenaline so that we would run, right? Give us the energy and all the stimulus to go run or protect ourselves. Now we are being abused, right? Like as a child or whatever it may be. Something is happening. We are encountering trauma as a child and we have nowhere to run, right? But the brain processes that trauma the same way as though we were being attacked by a lion. And that same amount of adrenaline that is required for us to actually run, right? To build and be aggressive and fight that lion, right? That kind of adrenaline is being released. So that's why medical medium, if you look through the PTSD, and if you look up in the group, there's guides. And I've started a guide on functional medicine. There's a whole section on PTSD. So, which is post-traumatic disorder, but if you've suffered any trauma as a child, it doesn't have to be that you've gone to war in Iraq or Afghanistan or something like that, and now you're coming back with PTSD. Normal people are walking around with PTSD from their childhood trauma. So cleansing is needed. Look up all the supplements that medical medium, you can go to any functional medicine doctor, let them process all the heavy metal toxins, go through the test for heavy metal toxins in your body, the pesticides, any kind of environmental pollutants in your body, and they will kind of like guide you. The functional medicine doctor will guide you through a process of cleansing, and that cleansing is the greatest healer, right? Cleansing, energy cleansing, like doing Qigong, what April does with Reiki, any kind of psychic healing, any kind of channeling, like what Caesar offers, right? I'll let Caesar speak to it. Go ahead, Caesar. Thank you, Kelly.
What a beautiful subject, and what a great explanation by the panel. Just awesome. I mean, we could really talk about this for probably weeks on end. So I recently had an experience with a couple animals that I have, brother and sister. And since you were talking about the wild, I'd just like to share this really quick because it's so in tune with what we're talking about here. And basically, the brother had passed a little over, let's say almost 2 weeks ago. And almost instantly, the sister was grieving. And I was comforting her and supporting her grief. And she became sicker and sicker to the point where she was fighting for her life up till basically yesterday, when I made a conscious decision to change the vibes, change the energy. There is no more sadness coming in. I'm not going to support that. And maybe I was influencing that, but regardless, I was mending with what I thought was sadness. So that sadness and that stress that she was enduring, having observed this, I then realized that it was a crucial time to change or influence the energy into that of love and happiness and the playful, exciting energy. And I almost immediately noticed a turn for the better. So having said that, we are the mechanics of the vehicle, of the mechanism, the overall mechanism. And it like Kelly was saying, how important it is to pay attention to the body and to the emotions. And the sickness and disease starts with stress and fear and things of low vibing nature. And despite what we're told, like the body's response, when we have a fever, that is our body actually raising the internal temperature as the whole to basically cook or fry whatever's going on inside of you. It's a way to kill the bad bacteria or whatever it is inside you. And we're told by doctors, modern doctors, to take something to lower the fever, when in reality, we should be supporting that and getting under the blankets. Our bodies are able to support without without help up to 105 degrees. After that, then it's probably time to go, but you support the fever and it will dissipate whatever it is going on inside of you at the time. Like, how can I put this here? Fear, things of that nature, stress, that causes us to raise the internal temperature as well. And it just like your car, it would be overheating. And at that point, if you've seen that on your gauges, you would probably likely pull over or you'd blow the motor or blow a gasket. And we have to really pay attention and do the same thing. When we are under fear or tension, stress, things of that nature, it is very important to cool down. And that is basically to root yourself in the present moment and just be still and let the conscious energy, source energy, just take over and do what it does, because we are not smarter than the internal cells that make up the whole mechanism of the body. And I love Kelly's breakdown of, because I did that, just understanding a little bit of the yogi culture about how to pay attention to how you feel after you eat. But I never took it to the emotional side, which I'm going to start paying attention to. Thank you, Kelly. I was just looking at it from a physical standpoint, on how I felt. But I do understand that body, mind, and spirit all work in conjunction with each other. And, the Trinity there has to be all in alignment, firing like a fine-tuned machine. So just a beautiful topic. And it all starts with the environment and the signal that you give your cells to recharge in a positive fashion, opposed to the cluster. I love Tolley's explanation on how, he gave the cancer analogy. When there's cancer cells in the body and they're spread out, as he, likened it to the likes of criminals in a neighborhood. That's okay when they're spread out, but when they all get together as the cancer cells would in your body, now you've got a problem. That's just a beautiful analogy, how Tolley breaks that down in The Power of Now. But yeah, so the energy, influence the energy. Stress is the killer, man. It's the number one killer today. And then that's probably in line with, direct for the heart attacks and the strokes and all that other good stuff. So easy peasy, man. Go with the flow, everybody, and don't stress. That too shall pass.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Caesar. I think he says when the master is not home, all kinds of characters come.
Yes, exactly. Take advantage.
Right. And the master not being home is that we are not generating enough presence power. And the moment we are not generating enough presence power, all kinds of sickness hits us, right? The other part related to that, what Caesar was saying and Kelly and April were saying about presence power is, if we are in our head all the time, right? And this is where I've always so passionately promoted Kelly's Qigong teaching, is because my first experience of actually having an inner body, like the complete inner inhabiting the inner body, was through Qigong. So I really love that modality, right? Even though I'm from East India, so I should be traditionally promoting yoga, right? But my inner body experience was not through yoga, it was through Qigong. So that's why I always talk about Kelly and his Qigong practice. So what Eckhart says is, if we are in our mind all day, then we have lost connection with the body. And the moment we are constantly one thought after the other, one hurt after the other, oh, what did my mother do to me? Or what did my sister do to me? What did my aunt do to me? And this person passed away so tragically. And these people passed away. I told my brother, right? Like there's so many people passing away in India out of the pandemic, the virus. And you hear like this aunt passed away, this cousin passed away, people our age have passed away, right? A lot of people have passed away. And so now realize that the whole country has that electromagnetic frequency of depression, right? The collective consciousness of the country is sadness, depression, a lot of, so the magnetic pull is already towards depression. And then now we are in our mind, right? Constantly in our mind. So what's going to take place is a lot of sickness. We will manifest sickness, and we are actually letting the virus win by doing that. Instead of going into meditation, instead of what Cesar was saying, being in presence power, then we are inhabiting a body. And when we are inhabiting a body, we are actually protecting ourselves against, that's our immunity. That's what Eckhart's recent word is, presence is our immunity, right? The immunity against all these viruses and illnesses is our presence. So work on your presence practice, meditation, inner body work, breath work. Did you have more to say about this, Eileen? Your thoughts?
Yes. I just
Thank
wanted to read a couple of lines that I didn't get to read.
Sure.
And then as I was looking at them, I was like, that's what I was trying to say. In the book that I was reading of his, and I linked it in the comments on our Facebook page, was that like there's this question about like, why we die. And sorry. Could the answer to our question of why we die be that through the pain of life's disappointments, we've hurt ourselves to death? So like that was something that as I was reading the chapter, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like that's it. And that's why I feel totally different now than I did 2 years ago on every level. It's not just an emotional or a feeling level. It's physically, like I don't feel the same at all. And then he makes a comment about one of the studies that he included. People talk about dying of a broken heart, but what they're really saying is that intense emotional reactions to loss and disappointment can actually cause like a heart attack or heart disease. And so it really comes down to that unresolved hurt. Because like I said, it's not so much the events that happen, it's our reaction to them and that emotion that we hold as a result of it. And then that unresolved hurt turns into actual physical pains, sickness. But I've almost done the book, but I totally get it. I've felt it myself, but to like read it on there and the research of it, I was like, wow.
Eternally grateful to you for finding that. It made a good topic for discussion. So thank you. Thank you so much. So one more thing that I had posted to the panel and the people that are doing School of Awakening was I'm taking this course with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. It's actually, it revolves around a platform mastermind, and it's coursework on how to set up, the course is about setting up, somebody said Carolyn Mace, you said Caesar. Carolyn Mace is another great one, yes. So it's coursework around building courses online, right? And there's a whole strategy on how to market, how to sell. But one of the things that he says in one of his master classes, his first online master class, he talks about productivity, right? So the whole premise here about them selling this course is each one of us has a unique talent, right? Like Kelly has Qigong, Caesar has his channeling and spiritual work. April has her psychic mediumship. Eileen wants to do mindfulness. So the first pointer that he gives is to be able to say no, right? Sit in your truth and be able to say no to almost everything, right? So what he says is, other than doing his, taking care of his children, his wife, and his, maybe his work, his team, other than that, everything is a no. Like if somebody says long dinner, Memorial Day weekend dinner, he may say no. Friends may say, come hang out with us, he'll say no, right? Come to my brother talking for 2-3 hours, he would probably say no, right? So I want you to think of, because I want all of you to experience this, right? Because I feel that there are quite a few people on the our core group of practitioners like Lakshmi, Gracie, Sujata, Marla, like they have a lot to give. Terry is the same way. Terry already has done courses with Dr. Shefali, right, on conscious parenting. All of you are that way. The panel members are that way. Eileen is that way. Eileen has wants to do mindfulness training, right, for kids. So what can you say no? So I'm trying to get you to the mindset of, let's focus on what is the most important thing for me is this group has been for the past 5 years, right? Yeah, I have a full-time job that I maintain so that I can pay for all the things that I support here on the group. But other than that, my focus is this group, or has been for the past 5 years, right? And I say almost no to almost everything, right? So what do y'all see now that y'all want to grow, right? I'm wanting Kelly to have, like I always say, like thousands of Qigong centers everywhere. I want Travis to have his meditation, whatever he wants to do, right? Be a great musician of presence practice, and as well as do his group meditations. Ryan to flourish as a teacher, right? As a spiritual teacher. So what do y'all think will help you focus into, okay, I see this is my niche and I want to move forward and by leaps and bounds, do something, make it impactful for the world. What am I going to say no to? Caesar, you want to get started? Thank you.
Oh, wow, this is deep. I never really thought about that, but I guess the impact that it would have. I mean, so basically we're setting boundaries here, yes?
Yes. It's not so much as boundaries. It's almost like, you know, when he said that, I equated it to what Eckhart calls a high quality no.
Right, okay.
A no means yes to the universe. We're saying consciousness wants to do something through us, right? And let
Yes.
me get aligned with what consciousness wants to do instead of all these nitpicky things. Go ahead.
Yes, that's so beautiful. I guess I never really put that into perspective because I'm one of these people that have a hard time saying no. And I got a feeling there's a couple other people on the panel, just having known their hearts just a little bit, and the way they are compassionate and very empathic, towards other people. So back to little old me here. So saying no, there's 1,000 things during the course of a day that I probably should be saying no to, and perhaps I will start tomorrow. And it starts first thing in the morning when the phone rings, because I never really thought about this and how much, it's only 5 minutes here, but that's 30 times a day. And then them 5 minutes seem to stem off into something else 20 minutes later. And before I know it, I got 30 things that I'm juggling on my plate throughout the day, even though I'm focusing on whatever it is at hand. By the end of the day, well, I'm going to say by 5 o'clock is when I start shuffling them off my plate. And then just putting them down. So when I come home, it's just me here in this chair with the panel or whatever it is that I'm doing. But I guess to calm my energy, and I try to convert that almost chaotic energy into excitement. Like I learned to trick myself, I guess you should say. And I just find it exciting. But I guess the reality of it is that it is taking up precious time where I should and could be doing other things which are important to me, like this stuff here. So, wow, this is very profound. Am I supposed to give examples of what I'm supposed to say no to?
So people get an idea, right? Like a few common things.
Stop. We're up here at the restaurant having coffee before work. Let's talk about our days and, share gratitude, things of that nature. It sounds good and it feels good when I'm there, but again, it's just another 10 minutes out of the day. Things like that, or I'll constantly get phone calls that, can you help me? Can you come take a look at this job for me? I just, need some advice, or things of that nature, just all day long. I am literally going to focus on this as I fall asleep tonight and wake up with my gratitude and my excitement. And I'm going to start my day off with a nice positive note tomorrow, the first chance I get. Yeah, because obviously that's what's in order, and probably for everybody listening, this isn't a coincidence.
Beautiful.
Thank you. This is awesome. Yeah, it puts things in a perspective, and I believe it will make a difference. Is this something you picked up on that class?
Yes.
Awesome.
That was his first master class.
Wow.
He talked about productivity, and I think I uploaded a worksheet, a clarity tool or something to our messenger post. Eileen, I don't know if you saw the upload. It's on our the live panel live messenger.
Yeah, I think I saw something, but it was a few days ago.
Yeah.
Or last week.
Last week. When we had the first masterclass last week, I posted that. The reason being, I think April said something about her daughter or worrying about her daughter, right? And I was like, I'm going to make everybody focus on what really is needed, right? So here's the productivity tool, because what Caesar said is exactly what Dean said, right? We'd pick up the phone, like we'd get up and we'd go, like he does a workout, right? As soon as he wakes up, he works out. But then you pick up your phone and say, oh, let me check that email, right? Then from that email, we go, oh, let me text this person, right? And then we'll go, oh, let me check something on Facebook, right? And then soon enough, it'll be an hour and a half later, and you've lost an hour and a half and not been in a flow, he calls flow state, but you've not been in presence, right? And so he recommends a morning ritual, and I'll ask everyone. So Caesar, do you have a morning ritual? I know you were doing a course in miracles.
I'm about 90% done with the Course in Miracles now. Love it. I do have a ritual. I try to break it up every now and again, though. The first thing I do is obviously before I do anything, as soon as I open my eyes, I'm just try to create that overwhelming feeling of gratitude to where I'm almost in tears. And then I put my feet on the floor and I smile. And and pretty much everything just flows from there. And I try to take the first half hour of the day. I don't turn my phone on for about a half hour. It's just me time. I'll sit on the porch, and sometimes I'll drink a coffee, and sometimes I'll drink a water. But I just like to take in nature and breathe the air, and just have a fine appreciation. And I just like to create that awesome momentum. And it just seems like I usually can float through the day just on that. But it's amazing how you just broke this down and put things into perspective for me. And thank you so very much for sharing that. I'm really grateful for that. This is very is awesome. Thank you.
And I'm going to share some of the techniques as I learned them. I'll openly share it with all of you, because I want all of us as a group to progress, right? Do whatever we were meant to do it with much more intentionality and power, right? So we give that yang creative principle and create more and be more impactful. I think we already are creating an impact, but be more impactful, right?
Yeah, and it's amazing because I'm always preaching to others, people around me, on how much of what we do means so little at the end of the day, and what's really truly important. And this was obviously an eye opener for myself too. So again, thank you.
Thank you. April. What did you think of it?
So it's sort of boundaries, but then I can see where you're going with this, where it's not necessarily boundaries. What I did for myself was years ago, I learned to start to check in with myself and ask if it's something I really want to do. If it's something that was taking away from me, was it taking too much of my time? Did I have any sort of resentments towards doing it? Did I really just want to do it just because I wanted to, from my heart space? And if I was okay with doing it without any expectations, then okay. And then if I wasn't, then to say no. And I didn't necessarily even have to have a reason for my no. I just didn't want to do it. And then like the whole situation with my daughter, she's younger, she's only 13. It's basically it's cleared up. But what I did with that was most of the things that I teach, I try to practice what I preach. If I tell you to do something, it's because I personally do it. So I dropped it. I dropped the scenario. It is what it is. It was going to be what it was going to be. And actually, I believe that well, she's 13, so there will be no admitting of this. I think she actually learned something from it, right? Yeah. So I think the lesson in itself wasn't necessarily for me. It was for her, right? So I dropped that. I backed out of that. And, it kind of also brings up for me, like in this space, in my arena, where you're trying to build an online business, but yet I have this full-time job over here. I get offers to do things like podcast or masterminds or things like that. And I got offered a few of them, and I was just like, I don't know that I want to sit on a mastermind from 8 to 3 all day. Really? That I'm just supposed to sit there and just give all my time and all my attention. So, and the offer for that actually came after you had posted this and you had made this suggestion in your group. And then, this person is having this mastermind, and but yet they, not only do they want you there from 8 to 3 on that day, they want you there from 8 to 3 another day a month before. And I think that's where this is a perfect example, where it comes in and it's like, how much of my time am I going to be giving away instead of focusing on where I really want to go, what I really want to teach to the audience that I really want to be, you know? So yeah, I think that it's a good insight. And I think saying no is a hard thing, especially for people like us in our field where we are caring, we are kind, we're empathetic, we're giving. We just have so much that we want to give. We do have a hard time saying no. I've had a hard time saying no most of my life. It's a skill that I've learned. And then also learning really though to not, this is where we practice that little secret that's called that self-care is not selfish, right? It's not selfish to practice self-care. And I think that's one of the harder things for people like us is that when we don't give, oh my gosh, what are we doing? We're not following the, the protocol here. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. And I definitely think it's something that, I have to be mindful of with myself, of not giving too much, backing up.
So when you talk about being on a podcast or a mastermind, the way to look at it, right, April, is just like this panel, we don't know who we are promoting to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we may be on a podcast and maybe somebody else sees us. We get a following just out of being on that podcast. So that is one of the selling tools, is to get on as many podcasts. I mean, if you want to promote a business, right? If you have an online business and you want to promote that business, so it's a give and take, right? We go attend their podcast and give them content because we are authoritative about one certain content, right? Like for me, it'll be limiting beliefs. So I'd probably join somebody and talk about limiting beliefs on their podcast, right? But they'll get content and a guest speaker. Then they can be a guest speaker on our whatever we are doing, if you're doing a Facebook Live. And that give and take, maybe we get a few followers out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And a person that will actually pay for content.
Yeah, I've
Right.
done several podcasts, but I think with that too, that if I don't watch that, I mean, I could be doing a podcast if I don't watch that.
Right. It's kind of a balance, right? What we say yes to and what we say no to. And if anybody wants to watch the video, Eckhart actually, I posted this video on the group page, which is about self-compassion, right? Eckhart says, we can have compassion. And one of the pointers he gives is towards self-compassion, that he needs to have self-compassion for himself, just like what April was talking about self-care, right? That he cannot be reading each and every book that is mailed to him. He has piles of books, right? He's not going to go through every mail. There are thousands of emails that he gets. So he has self-compassion that he needs to maintain his presence power, should not be assaulted by content, right? So he says compassion requires wisdom. So even though I'm saying go engage with these things, again, it's actually a balance, which will not come, that balance will not come without presence power. The most important thing that we can invest into is presence power. Grow in your presence power, and you will know how much you can give, how much you cannot give, what you can say no to. And you are saying the no with compassion, the wisdom that comes from presence power, and the compassion for ourselves, that we need to recharge, rejuvenate ourselves so that we can give the next day. Because it's not like one day and we are done, right? 1823 mastermind is not going to end it. It's like another day, another day, another day, another day. we're constantly giving. So thank you. Thank you, April, for that pointer. Appreciate it. Eileen, did you want to talk about this topic of what you could say no to?
Well, when you first asked, I was thinking about what is the thing that I most want to say yes to at this moment. And like, what are the things that I could kind of say no to around that? And for me, it's been like, I started school to become a meditation teacher probably about a month ago. But I literally have like never have any time to like do the work, like the assignments. Like I attend the classes, but never have enough time to like get the assignments done. And so over the probably about the last week, almost a week, I've been spending time each and every day working on one or two assignments. There's just so many. And so like I'll be, tired. But I'm like, I'm gonna do this assignment, and then I feel better after. So I don't necessarily feel tired anymore, because I think I've said this a lot. Like, it's not the physical tired, it's the tired that you get when you just don't have enough peace in your day. So believe it or not, doing an assignment for becoming a meditation teacher is actually also peaceful, annoying when you first start, because you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to do another one of these. But so that's kind of what I've been doing. Saying no to things. I haven't quite been maybe saying no to things, but maybe rearranging things, so I could work on saying no to things. Although I think I've already practiced a lot of that previous to all of this. I've already kind of said no to a lot of things, but I still do a lot. Working on saying no to things related to work. That's what
Beautiful. And morning routine? Any routine?
Yes. First thing I do when I wake up is meditation. I meditate first, and do a gratitude practice. It's pretty quick in the morning. After meditation, I do a longer gratitude practice at the end of my school day, as well as more meditations later in the day too. But meditations first.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you. April, I didn't ask you about your morning practice.
Yeah, my morning practice, I also make sure that I don't get on an electronic right away. I make sure that I don't do that. And mine consists of my gratitude I do at night. So my gratitude I do, I've told people I'll be laying in bed and I'll be grateful that for one, I have a bed, because I could not have a bed, that I have sheets, because I don't know if you know this, but those dang things are expensive. Sheets are so expensive, right?
Yes.
They're just 4 corners, but for God's sakes. So I could not have sheets. So I get grateful gratitude just down to that level that, while I may not be feeling well, I'm still here and I still have my arms and my legs. And so my gratitude is at night. In the morning, what I do is I do more of a designing of who I want to be and a designing of how I would like my day to go. And because my idea is that when you choose how you want to be, that determines your behaviors in life. If I want to be calm, if I want to be patient, if I want to be present, that I make that choice of how I want to be, and that determines my behaviors. So that's what I do in my morning routine.
Thank you. Kelly.
Well, no is an interesting concept for me. I figured out at a young age, about 8 or 9, how to remove myself from situations and how to say no to friends, family, parents. I was a very independent little child. Go and hide in the bush when there wasn't any point to have a discussion. You know, something that I understood when I was a kid. You know, part of that also comes from being very, very intuitive and understanding that people were in certain spaces that you just could not communicate with. So there was, you know, it's like, no, I don't want to talk. Bye. You know, and through the years, that's evolved as, you know, I grow up and experience more things. And, you know, I really am a unique individual in that respect, where I am still very independent and am very able to spend time with myself, always have been. You know, when I was 8 and 9 is when I taught myself how to meditate by the river, just living on the river, just going and watching the sunlight play on the river, or sitting in the bush. One of my favorite things is to sit in the bush and listen to the song of the wind in the trees. And, you know, like to this day, you know, like today I was out at my mom and dad's out in the country, you know, just getting out of the car. It's just like so nice to get out of the car and be in the country where it's so quiet energetically, so still, and to listen to the trees and the grass and the wind and the space. Growing through certain personal relationships, my marriage, you know, my marriage was a constant evolution of learning how to say no in different ways, both to my own programming and my own things that I needed to learn and my own conditioning, and to say no and to step back into observation, and also being able to say no to someone that I loved very much, and be able to say no to a space that was not healthy and to step out of it. And, you know, very, very challenging at the time, because again, it's an action, it's an energy that does not exist in my family, especially when it comes to, you know, the Irish and the Russian interacting and both liking to duke it out and you know, have control over the situation through conversation and argument. And one of the things that I've learned, and again, this goes to my own personal practice and what I've learned through Qigong, and learning how to feel the energy of words, the energy of expression, the energy of the mind intent in words, is really, really important to understand. Again, this is like, Eileen, why I love the fact that you brought Gregg Braden into this whole dialogue, because again, the man does such a beautiful job of explaining the whole inherent energetic quality of human interaction very well. And growing up, this is something that I'd get into so much trouble all the time, being able to hear what people were thinking and witness them say different things with words and do different things with words. And then I would question them about it, and I would get into so much trouble all the time. And then one day my mom told me that this was the problem. And I finally confided in my mom, because I was having problems with my friends at school because of this. I think it was grade 7 or 8. And she told me that this is the problem that my grandfather had as a politician. Now, my grandfather was this kind of an intuitive as well. And I went, what? You just like waited this long to tell me this important piece of information? I'm not crazy. It's like, what do you mean? Being able to understand what you feel, what you are feeling within yourself, is so important, because then it gives you that space to process and feel and listen to the energy that is coming from someone else, and to make the balanced choice of how to respond from a space of observation and not reaction to what you feel. And this is something that I actually had to spend a lot of time learning how to say no to myself and how to say no to my own initial gut reaction to what I would feel from my own self and my own desire to express myself in a certain way. And understand that even though I could be right in a certain situation, it is not necessarily something that people would be able to hear, let alone understand and accept. So understanding how to word things, how to wait for a time when people would be open to hear and integrate and accept information that I had, was probably the biggest learning experience of saying no, or learning how to say no to my initial gut reaction. I learned how to say no to myself, but not in a way that was controlling or about denial, but that was about patience and allowance, which is literally like, it's so hard to do. Because I mean, especially when you love someone or you care about something or you're passionate about something and you want people to know, and or you know, all the environmental work that I did, all the work with First Nations, really, really passionate about it. And always having to wait on the government, or always having to wait on a community, or always having to wait on a proposal, or always, you know, always having to wait, always having to wait. Even in personal relationships and my marriage, and getting divorced, it's like having to wait for that moment in time with my ex-wife when I knew that she would actually be able to hear me and actually connect from a loving space, to actually hear me and understand that we were hurting each other and that we needed to move out of that space, and that we couldn't do it together, that we actually needed to stop. Very scary at first doing that. And this is sort of one of the things about, or one of the things that I feel is really important to understand about saying no to a program, a pattern, a feeling that wants to override you. And Eileen, I loved your example of that heavy feeling, because one of the things that I've learned through listening to my body is that heaviness is generally that space of emotional resistance, especially when we're learning something new, or we're doing, God forbid, something for ourselves, you know? That's been a huge thing of understanding how to say no to the resistance, right? Which is exactly what you expressed, which was beautiful, by the way. Thank you for sharing that. Being able to say no to myself, being able to say no to my patterns, has been the biggest learning curve and the deepest joy and anguish all at the same time. Because there's always so much there when we learn to say no, but also learn how to say and see all the different levels of what we are saying no to, and why, and how things fit together, and letting ourselves feel that, which is why being present and being able to have that space with ourselves especially is so incredibly important. No matter what else is going on in the world, if we can do that for ourselves, with ourselves, then we have so much more strength in ourselves, in being present, in being mindful. And then everything else in the outside world begins to pale in comparison. At least that's been my experience. Once I figured out how to do that for myself and face that fear of saying no to myself and no to my patterns, it's a game changer, like huge. I have no words to express how huge that really is. Love the topic. I could keep going, but I'm gonna leave it there. My nickel this time, maybe.
Your morning routine.
Oh, my morning routine. It depends on the day. Sometimes I'll work out. Sometimes I'll do qigong. I generally do standing stick. The very first thing that I do when I wake up is I sit on my bed and I check in, and I go through where I feel that I am inside. If there's any information I'm downloading from sleep time, from that other world of sleep space, that other parallel continuum of reality. I do a lot of work when I sleep, so sometimes I wake up and I'll be in like 2 or 3 places at once. And so sitting with myself, and I guess you could, yeah, call it a meditation, because I check in, I go inside and I see where my heart is, where my mind is, what space I'm connected with, what is front of mind, like what my mind wants to gravitate towards right away. And I pull myself back into alignment with myself. That is the very first thing that I do when I get up. And then I decide, depending on how I feel or what I'm processing, if there's a lot of heaviness because I brought something to the surface emotionally, I will sometimes give myself extra time. I do a lot of invocations, a lot of decrees, mantras as part of my meditative practice when I first get up to help shift vibrational and frequency gears so that it can bring me sort of more to the physical immediate present, and I can listen to my voice while I do that to help focus me and bring me into the present moment. And then I'll either do Qigong or I'll work out with weights, or I'll do a combination. I'll do some Kung Fu or something like that. Or sometimes, depending if I'm doing some deep healing, I'll go have some soul screams in the shower and get in the car and blast some really loud music.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. I'll quickly give my morning routine. I do the 7 spiritual laws of success as soon as I wake up. Some days I do what Eckhart talks about, which is lie with your hands spread, lie on your back and feel the inner energy of your body. And then I'll like brush my teeth, get my coffee or my celery juice and meditate. So the first routine is meditation. So I'm back in the complete presence. And then I start all the other activities. As far as saying no, the greatest time that I've recovered, I think, by saying no to TV and news. I don't watch any TV whatsoever, no news. Even cooking is a no. Like I don't get into long, like Indian cooking, you can start at 8 o'clock in the morning and keep cooking until 8 o'clock in the evening. And there's dishes, a huge production, right? So I almost blend, like everything is thrown into the blender, like spinach and tomatoes and orange juice and like fresh spinach, right? And tomatoes is thrown into a blender. I make it into a cold soup and I just drink it quick. And so I recovered time where we would have spent a whole lot of time, right? So something for everyone to think about, right? Where do we waste time? Like we are watching one to YouTube video, and then we've gone from one video, Greg Braden to Abraham Hicks to, we've done a few more videos of some other teacher, right? So we can just jump from one piece of content, and content is completely like blasting us. So that's one thing. The other one tool that was given to us during the initial, I think it's the first module, was something called the Clarity tool, which is like 7 levels deep. So I want all the panel members and everyone out there to think, what is our intention for life, right? 7 levels deep. So the first intention may be, okay, if we get into this work and this work flourishes, then we'd be financially independent. Like I won't have to do my regular job. Caesar wouldn't have to do whatever regular job. Aline won't have to do her teaching job and actually do what she wants to do, which is mindfulness, right? So the first level may be that. The second level may be, I want my family to do well, right? Like, okay, I want to provide for my son, my nephew, or whatever. So third level may be another, I want my friends to do well. So I want certain friends to, like I want everybody on the panel and like Lakshmi, Gracie, like there are quite a few of you that have touched me that I want you all to do well. That'll be my third level, right? So 7 levels deep. What is the panel and everybody out there thinking, what is their 7th level? Like go down. I mean, y'all can quickly go through level 1, 2, 3, I think would be similar to mine, which is you'll move from okay, I no longer want to do my regular job. I want to just do this work, right? And be financially independent doing this, or kind of financially a little bit successful so that I can sustain myself in this job, right? In this work. Then second would be family. Then third would be friends. But then the fourth, fifth, sixth level, what would you think? Caesar, are you ready?
Well, it's a tough one for me because I'm just on the fly all the time. I haven't really planned anything from the past probably 8 or 9 years as far as what I want to do and where I want to go in life. I've recently started putting a little thought into it. I find myself occasionally drifting over there. So yeah, to put that in perspective, it's interesting. Again, this is just an aha moment. So this is probably one of my most exciting, beneficial live panels I've done. I'm just like ecstatic about this. I really honestly am, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude in this moment because of that. So my 4th, 5th, and 6th levels, or 5, 6, and 7 levels, I would say my first 3 or 4 are very similar to yours, and I would like to believe that everybody's would be similar in that order. Gosh, it's a tough one. I would say the animal thing for me would likely come after friends. Music, because that is almost a form of my meditation. That's kind of crazy because it's almost like everything we do when we're in the moment is like a meditation. I mean, I feel like it is to me. I don't know if y'all experience the same thing in that way, but when you're so focused on whatever it is you're doing in the present moment, it is, to me, it's like a meditation fully, because just whatever I do or whatever we do it, we do it, we're all there. There's not much else going on in this little brain of mine when I'm doing something. Planning is done early, and once that's the planning stage is over, it's over. But yeah, I usually do everything on the fly, including where I'm heading in the next 10 years of my life. And I think it's probably time I should probably put that into perspective, because my body is starting to break down on me in my latter days, my age. And yeah, so animals would be down there after friends. Music. Gosh, I don't know what's after that, because them are the things that are most important to me, that I really truly care about and feel that I can make a difference in this world, on them levels, to that audience or them beings. So that would be mine.
Thank you. And maybe I'll bring this up in a few months again. So keep it in your mind. Actually go home and write your 7 levels and improve upon it. And maybe a couple of months from now, your 7 levels changes, right? But think about it.
I'm actually probably going to spend an hour after I get off this live. I'm anxious to actually get done with this so I can actually write down some notes. And I was never introduced to the gentleman that was brought up. What's his name again? I'm sorry. Who Eileen brought up with the book?
Greg Braden.
Greg Braden. Yeah. Yesterday I was just searching through Gaia, going, God, I need somebody new. And then here we are. It's pretty awesome.
Synchronicity, right?
Amazing day.
Yes.
It's been an amazing day all the way around.
Thank you. Eileen, you want to go through your 7 levels?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I assume like my first 2 will probably be like the similar for sure, but I guess the first 3. But I was thinking while you were talking that for me, somewhere in there would be sleep. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I do so much better with it now and need less than I need, but like putting it first. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like that's something that gets cut a lot of time when there's a lot of going on. So that is definitely something that I would want to be more consistent. And for me, I feel like my friends fall into multiple categories because I have friends like all over the world, but then I have like my neighbors and friends, like my friends that I can literally be in physical presence with, and the friends that, you know, I can't necessarily be. So I feel like that would take up multiple levels, which brings me to something else, which I can't even believe I'm going to say this because this is totally not me. I'm shocking myself right now. Would be like traveling, because I do not like traveling. Never have. But for the purpose of connecting. So not like traveling to go, you know, because I don't fly, but not like traveling to go travel Germany. Do you know what I mean? Like traveling with the purpose of connection. So traveling to see family or friends or, I honestly really can't believe that I even said that, but that would be something if all of those other things were in place.
What if you started mindfulness meditation and that meditation, like you were talking to an audience of 10,000 members and you were walking them through meditation, but that was in Phuket, Japan, you would have to fly. Or Australia or New Zealand I mean, look at what Tony Robbins and
I do not fly.
Greg Braden and who's the guy who did Virgin, Richard Branson, they fly to 140, 150 countries, right?
I'm perfectly okay with driving around the United States or going somewhere virtually.
Okay.
That's not in the States, but, oh, and I can go to Canada. Anywhere north, actually North or South America is fine because it'll take a while, but I'll get there.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, and I want to just say something because I didn't want to interrupt earlier, but Kelly, my son, is going through what you went through. So he's in that stage, he's 11, so he's in that stage of trying to figure out when it's okay to really say and do what his gut's telling him and when he better wait. So he's in that like mode right now where he's struggling, where he's kind of choosing the wrong one at the moment and then dealing with the consequences.
Especially if you're a guy, and this goes directly to the difference in nervous systems because of male and female physiology, because boys do not have a cycle every month, and we are not able to purge our system unless we have a mode or a toolbox to do so. So learning to listen and learning to feel, and this is one of the reasons why, I mean, my mom, God bless her, made sure I understood the differences between men and women physiologically very succinctly, because I was always helping her shop for stuff. That's wonderful. That's awesome that he is growing into his own understanding of his own language for himself. It's really, really important. Again, this is one of the reasons why, I mean, for me personally, I've been so physically oriented my entire life, is because of the amount of information that I tend to process on a daily basis, and how much, even just taking 5 minutes to sit with myself, as I said, like when I get up, that's what the reason why it's the first thing that I do, is to listen. So, and I just, give him a hug for me, because, dang, it ain't easy.
No. And he'll say, but that's like, he doesn't use that word, but he'll basically be saying, but that's the truth. Like, that's what my gut's telling me. I'm like, yeah, but you might not want to handle it that way. Or the opposite. He'll, kind of hold back and not go with his gut on something. And I'm like, well, and he'll go, well, I was going to do this. And I'm like, well, you should have just done it. Yeah. So he's kind of learning the.
Yeah. Yeah. My entire childhood was like that. or learning not to go with my immediate gut reaction, and to learn how to be strategic about how I actually acted and responded verbally.
Yeah, he hasn't figured that out yet. I mean, he's working on it, but it's funny that you mention the difference between, man and woman, because since he was born, this isn't going to surprise any of you, but since he was born, he's always been in tune with my cycle. Since
Oh
he
yeah.
was,
Yep.
and a few days before it would start, like his like mood would like change, and as he gets older, he'll like struggle with certain things, and I'm like, man, he's still doing this, because it's been 11, almost 12 years now, and still to this day he's still, I'm like, he totally has it's as if he has his own.
Yep.
menstrual cycle,
Any
but he doesn't.
anyone that I live with, or anyone that I'm connected with, I will parallel their cycle emotionally. I'll register their information at the same time.
Yep.
So there have been some
Always
times
been
where it's
like
like, oh, why do my kidneys feel like, hey, wait, what time of the month is it?
Yeah.
Honest to goodness, it's, it's growing up being intuitive and sensitive, or aware, I guess, connected to those other levels of reality. And again, individuals on the spectrum also have a very natural connection to the quantum fields, as some people call them.
Mhm.
Not that I'm saying that I'm on the spectrum at all. It's just that I've actually coincidentally had a lot of friends on the spectrum that I just tend to get along with really, really well.
Yeah.
And, thank you for sharing, Eileen. Appreciate it.
Anything else, Eileen?
No, I just wanted to make sure to say that. Like, when Kelly was talking, I was like, this is exactly what we've been dealing with.
Beautiful. Thank you. April, did you want to talk about your 7 levels?
Yeah. I think I really like my job. I like my job. I enjoy the people I work with. I like what I do for a living. I don't mind my clients, but I definitely think that I would quit my job. Only so that I could do this more.
Yes.
Right? This is where my passion is at. This is where my fun is at, my joy, it's while I'm tired, like for me and like Kelly and Caesar, Eileen, I guess too, like it's late, but for me, this is like actually an energy reset. This is an energy reset for me. So it's like taking a nap for me. It's an energy reset. So this is where my passion is at. So I would probably stop working my day job. And I would work on doing this more. And then, of course, I would want to increase my income. And I would take care of my girls, all of my children. I would buy them all homes and buy them all new cars. And a couple of my friends, I would do the same. And then from that point, I would develop my goal. My ultimate goal is to be, and I said this the first time I met you guys, when I was having sinus issues. My ultimate goal is to be the next Wayne Dyer. So I don't necessarily, I have courses that I've already developed, but I would invest the money into promoting those more, and then have those presented just like Greg Braden and the other guy does. Who's the other guy that does the meditations? He works with
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Joe Dispenza,
Yeah,
where they
another
have
good
their
one.
information on their website, but they don't necessarily, it's not necessarily a school, but it's there. and they speak for a living. From that point, my goal really is to teach the world. I know that might sound grandiose, but that's what I want to do. And one of my other passions is funding the research for my daughter, who is deaf. And right now, they have found that birds, fish, and frogs can regrow their cochlear hairs. And we've been able to regrow them in rats and in guinea pigs. And they are currently doing human testing to regrow those. And that would be like my 7th level. I would fund that stem cell research for things like that in the world.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, April. My 5th level was, since I'm so passionate about medical medium and his supplements, and since we've gone through the whole pain body and adrenaline, right? It would be like funding, giving for charity, letting organic meals go to homes, supplements go to homes, as long as the person believes it, right? That the supplements work for them, because there has to be some kind of agreeable, like, just because I send you supplements doesn't mean that you're going to start eating them, right? Somebody who's interested in the medical medium protocol, like follow that, or functional medicine. That would be my 5th level. The 6th level was, so my son is a very different kind of person. He's South Asian or South Asian descent, but he has no interest in science. He has no interest in math. He has no interest in physics. Leave alone that, he does not even believe in this traditional. I mean, he's going to college just out of the fact that we say, right, at least get a degree and go to college, but he does not believe in traditional education. He believes in self-education. So I would fund teachers that are doing the alternative type of education, because I know millennials and the younger generation don't want to be taught this way anymore, right? That's why when April was talking about her daughter wanting to do something different, this younger generation is showing, right, in their will. And I know so many of his generation of millennials, like friends, children, that have not gone to college immediately after high school. They've gone to community college, or they've taken a break and then gone to college, right? Ultimately, because we all believe that once you're 18, 19, that the next path is you need to attend college, right? But I do think the younger generation is saying, no, I don't want to. I don't want to follow this. There's so many schools. One day Eileen can talk about it, because I want Kelly to speak. So I would fund that. And ultimately my 7th level was peace, harmony, and abundance for all, which I said every time we talk, right? Kelly, I'll give it to you.
I think Poonam, oh, 1 second.
Sure.
Last week when you said that, like I have a daughter who's, extremely intelligent. She has the Asperger's, and IQ, we're up in like the 120s. It's just, but struggles in math. And when you said last week, I've never used geometry or algebra. Like I've never used those things, personally. I've never, but I had to learn them, right? I had to learn them, but I can tell you, as old as I am, I have still never used those. But we are still forcing those in our school system, Yeah.
He is like, I don't know, he's never done an IQ test, but I know he had straight A's in elementary school, right? And then I saw a shift where maybe by middle school, he was like kind of, I would ask him, why don't you get straight A's? He goes, Mommy, everybody can have straight A's. I mean, everybody can have A's. It's okay if we get B's, right? So he'll get like a couple of A's. Like if he takes 5 courses in a semester, he'll get 3 A's and 2 B's. It's like, why didn't you put a little bit more effort and just go get straight A's? But no, he doesn't even care, right? Like in that competition, that, oh, I need to get, that urge is not even there. So they're teaching us something. It's a spiritual lesson. And one day, Eileen, maybe next week, I'll have Eileen speak about education, right? So she has a lot to say since she's
Yeah, we talk about this a lot on my podcast.
perfect.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it next week. Kelly, I'll let you speak to it. Thank you.
Only 7 levels?
It's 7. By the time you hit the 7th level, that 7th level is so deep that tears should flow. I mean, like April's 7th level was like tears. You can feel tears come well up, right? Because it is so meaningful to you. It's so gut wrenching and meaningful to the person.
I ask only 7 levels.
Yes, it's only 7 levels.
I mean, the basic principles of, being successful on my own terms, being able to financially be stable and, let's say, globally invulnerable to the paradigm shifting that's going on. Being able to, sure, buy a house for everyone that I love. I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to get my mom and my brother to retire. Love to be able to, take care of my parents in a way and support them in a way that they've returned the favor in terms of the way that they've supported me my entire life. There are a bunch of things that I would fund. If I had the money, I would fund a foundation that did regenerative farming and that educated the agricultural industry in terms of how to do without chemicals, how to do no-till so that we rebuild the health of the planet through the health of the soil, and through the health of the soil, the evaporation cycle, the climate cycles. And yeah, I'd love to have centers all over the world. I'd love to teach Qigong. I have books that I'm working on. There are aspects of physical embodiment of this process that I know no one has ever looked at or read. Moments where, what Gregg Braden talks about, of spontaneous healing, the way that you can manifest outside in your environment around you, and not just through the projection of an intention, but through the alignment of, I don't know, without sort of getting too esoteric here, what some people refer to as light codes that are in the body. When you unlock them, you have access to more information, more ways of doing things. Yeah, the reason why I sort of, jokingly go, only 7 levels, is because part of me, in terms of the spaces that I'm conscious of on a daily basis, involve the realignment of the energies of the planet, the energies of the solar system with the rest of the galaxy. So there are sort of different depths that I can would like to talk to. Eventually I'll probably write a book or 3. But, being able to support in love the process and the journey of everyone that I come into contact with and everyone that I love, and to be able to support everyone on the panel. There's a meme going around where, it's actually kind of a really nice sentiment where it's sort of, jokingly, I want to be so rich that God chooses me to chooses my wallet to bless other people's lives, right? So, again, very much some of the parallels that have been mentioned, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But there are, aspects of some of the physical embodiment, the physical processes that, and the physical transmutation of actually embodying, being present and being mindful and aligned with source that I have yet to read about. So I figure I've got to write a book or two.
Awesome. On this note, we'll end it, and we'll come up with what are the different educational avenues that people can explore next week, Eileen. So be ready with lots and lots and lots of content, and we will all pitch in. Okay? So such an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much. Eternally grateful for everyone on the panel, everyone out there. Many blessings. Have a wonderful evening. Much love. Good night.